Hi, guys. Welcome to The Deciding Factor. I'm John.
And I'm Alton.
And I'm Barb.
And together we form this great show that we call The Deciding Factor, in which you, the audience, gets to actually learn something and not just listen to another boring podcast. Am I right, Alton?
Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes. But it is something that I wanted to point out is that in the format of our podcast, in case you've never listened to it, usually towards the end of the podcast, we have our deciding factor. And that's where we take all the information that we've talked about throughout the entire podcast and distill it down and explain why we feel the way that we feel. So if you see that we have 100 or an hour and 10-minute long podcast and you only have 30 minutes in the car, don't listen, John. Just fast forward and listen to the second half of the podcast, because there's so much meat at the end of the podcast. That's certainly not the part that you want to miss. So yeah, if just a little tidbit for you guys, and don't forget to share, like, and subscribe.
Yes, I couldn't have said it better myself. However, if you do stick till the end, our guest, Georgia Woodbine, is going to give us something for our time in return.
Yes.
So stay tuned, guys. This is The Deciding Factor.
Everyday life issues broken down to help you build your own opinions on the issues that matter most. Coming to you from Austin, Texas, this is The Deciding Factor with your host, Alton Hill and John HERZOG.
Hi, guys. Welcome back. Once again, this is The Deciding Factor. Hopefully today, our goal is to talk to you about mindset. Is your mindset your biggest barrier in life, whether it's business or personal? That's what we're going to talk to Georgia Woodbine about today. And she is a professional development coach. She has helped hundreds of people throughout her time. She has been a speaker across the world. And just to highlight some of the things she does, she's a change agent. She's an author, a lifestyle transform coach. She's dynamic and entertaining speaker. And she's actually appeared in things such as the Daily News, the Huffington Post, Rolling Out Magazine, Sirius XM Radio. And maybe some of y'all have actually had her in person if you attended some of the speaking gigs that she's done for, say, Time Warner Cable, Columbia University, and many others. Guys, she has so much to teach us and so much to tell us. She's been doing this for 13 years. And with that kind of time put into it, I tell you what, she's going to know a thing or two, and she'll teach us a thing or two. Georgia Woodbine, thank you for coming on today. How are you doing?
How are you? Thanks for having me. And I just want to add to that, it's actually 15 years.
15 years? Oh, man. Well, that's
nice.
Man, you're getting up there. So how did you get started in this? Like, do you go to school and go, hey, I want to be a transformation coach?
No, I tell you, in life, it's always about the pain, I think, that brings you to your purpose in life and what you end up doing and what you should be doing with your life. I think for me, it was my backstory, which was really going through confusion, having unfulfilling careers, being in failing relationships, just everything that you can think of, dealing with health issues. And, when your back is up against the wall, you start to question yourself, and the most important question you will ever ask yourself in life is, why am I here? And once I began to ask myself that question, that's when everything started to unravel.
Interesting. So I must admit to the listeners, I was stalking you on YouTube, and that's how I found you in the first place. But it was because of your total BS. And that's not what you're thinking of if you're listening to this. This book is about body and soul. Am I correct?
Yes, yes, absolutely. When people hear the title and they see the cover, Total BS, they're like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But it's not the BS you're thinking. I mean, BS stands for body and soul, and Total BS is really about finding one's true self and peeling away life's preconceived notions of what we think we are and what we think will make us happy, and all the self-doubt that prevents us from living in our highest potential. And so that's what that book is really about. And not just getting physically fit, but also getting mentally fit for life.
So obviously we're going to talk about mindset and whether it's the biggest barrier in life. You know, I listened to a podcast recently and they say that motivation is not really what it's cracked up to be. It's just get the work done is what he said. And right away I'm sitting there going, no, because I've done sales before and you have to have the motivation to do outbound calling, in my opinion. Wouldn't you say? I mean, motivation is a pretty big key.
It is. It's really not the motivation. It's how to get to motivating yourself. That's the struggle people have. But absolutely, to pursue anything or to do anything, you have to be motivated. That's what's going to get you interested in whatever it is you're trying to do. So I disagree with what he said, but I think probably what he meant was, how do you get motivated? And that's the struggle.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I would rather get motivated than just have to muscle through everything, right? And be miserable. It's nice to, I guess, accomplish some things. One of the things I'd like to get motivated about is how to get out of bed early in the morning. Georgia, you have any tips on that other than don't stay up till 2 a.m. and expect to get up at 5?
Well, a lot of things I focus on, the things to make you get out of bed is to focus on things that make you feel good. Focus on things that make you feel happy. Focus on things that bring you joy. And that will get you that motivation to get out of bed in the morning.
You know, like in sales, I've always imagined that pain can sell, right? You kind of touched on that, right? And that you wanted to kind of begin this transformation and helping other people transform because of the pain. But then there's also the pleasure part of it, right? Is something that's attractive that we want to go towards. So when you're working with people and trying to transform them, do you use like both of those techniques or one or the other?
Well, the first technique I would say is meeting them where they are, because everybody's in a different place in their life at a different time. And showing them that really in life, everybody has a certain type of mindset. There's two basic types of mindset that shapes our lives. There is the fixed mindset and there's the growth mindset. Now, the fixed mindset comes from the belief that your qualities are carved in stone. This is where you come from. This is where you live. This is how you grew up. So this is the way life is. The growth mindset comes from the belief that your basic qualities are things you can cultivate through work and effort. So whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, you can put your mind to it and you can make it happen. So the two different types of mindset. So let's say, for example, a fixed mindset is someone that prefers staying in the familiar, right? They don't want to change. They like things the way they are. It's easy. They stick to what they know. They don't like to be challenged. They look at others that if you succeed, they feel threatened by you. So that's how you know you have a fixed mindset. When you have a growth mindset, you embrace challenges because you feel like these challenges are going to help me grow. Think about with the pandemic, right? People had to learn how to use Zoom. People had to use certain technologies that they've never been exposed to. And you said, you know what? I'm going to do this podcast. So I'm going to figure this out and I'm going to get through this and I'm going to do what I have to do, right? So people with a growth mindset, they like to try new things. They want to be challenged because they feel that if they're challenged, it's going to help them grow. And when someone else is successful, it inspires them too to be successful. So really understanding what mindset you have so that you can change that mindset.
So how should we define mindset, since we're trying to say that this could possibly be the biggest barrier in life?
it's like this. You can't change what you don't confront. So figuring out what it is that you want and confronting that. Like you said, thinking about what is it that I want to change in my life, and understanding that a lot of times you make decisions in life based on past experiences. And we already know that when we go through experiences that are bad, what happens? You don't want to go back there. You don't want to touch that. You want to stay away from that because it feels bad. So overcoming those feelings and those experiences and moving past that.
Gotcha. So what is one of the biggest issues in some of these people you coach? Let me give you an example. Is mine has always been, if it comes to starting a business or coming up with this next fun deal, starting a podcast, it's like, do I have the resources to make this happen? I get locked in that. How do you break that?
Goes right back to what we started talking about, mindset. Mindset is the key to everything in life. Whether you're going to succeed or whether you feel you're going to fail, it all has to do with this, your mindset. So getting past that and not worrying about the resources, but focusing more on, like I said, the most important question you will ask yourself is, why am I doing this? Think about why you're doing what you're doing. A lot of times in life, we do things why? Because our parents told us this is what you should be doing with your life. Someone you were exposed to said, go this direction because this is how you can be successful. So a lot of times in life, we're living by default. We're not living by intention. So we're following a path that somebody else set for us without finding out, well, what is my true meaning? What is my why? And your why is your purpose. Your why is why you're doing what you're doing, why you're doing this podcast. What is the purpose behind it? So it's always about the why.
So can I ask you, in the scheme of thinking about the why, I'm thinking about the two mindsets. You've got the basically the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. What if someone is in a situation that they chose, where it looks fixed, they're not looking to be challenged, they're not, not looking for the next thing? What if they're just content? Where does contentment land in the mindsets? Like, I guess what I'm thinking about is, we've got generations of farmers in my family. Okay, where to run the family farm, to provide for your family, to be a part of your community, like that was the picture, that was the goal, to meet my family's needs was enough. But I think based on your definition, that would sound like a fixed mindset, right?
Well, is that something that, like you said, content, meaning is it something that you wanted or something that your family wanted you to be a part of? Is it something that you said, this makes me feel good, I love doing this, this is something that I see myself doing 10, 15 years from now, it's something that I chose, that's something that I want to do, then it's not so much fixed if that's what you want.
Well, suppose that you got into it because that was the family farm, but what you found is that it feels sort of awesome to provide for your family.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Does it make you feel happy? Do you feel joy? Do you get joy from this? Do you feel passionate about it?
So do you think that there's ever,
Barb doesn't want to answer.
Oh, sorry. No, I wasn't. I was talking about someone. No, I wasn't thinking myself, actually. I was thinking about, generations of people before me, right? And I don't think, I'm thinking through talking to my grandparents, I don't think they could fathom why that would matter so much. Like, if do I feel passionate about birthing another cow? I don't know, but I feel really passionate about that I've provided for my family. So I'm kind of, that's what I'm thinking about. Like, within these two mindsets, where does contentment lie? Can you be grateful for where you're at and still be in a growth mindset? Can you be grateful for where you're at and be kind of happily in a fixed mindset? I'm trying to figure out, like, quality of life as we go. How does that fit?
Well, something that you said to me when we first started was this is something that your parents and your family So my whole thing with the growth mindset is getting to a place with finding out what you want, not so much about just providing for your family and following the pattern of what you've been taught. Because we always go by what we've been taught and think that is the right way. But what is the right way? Do we really know? Or is it what we've been exposed to? So for me, I'll use myself as an example. My mom always told me, don't start a business, work for a job where you can get pension, where you can get insurance, where you can get all these things. Oh, yeah. And so I've been trained that way my whole life to think that this is the way I have to go. Why? Because she said that's the right way. And as I started to grow and evolve and develop, I realized that that doesn't have to be my way. That was her way that worked for her. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that path that was successful for her is going to work for me, or what's even going to make me feel good about what I do, or feel that I'm living in my highest potential, or feel like I'm tapping into a self that I didn't know was there. So I can't really answer your question because I don't really know where you are and what, as far as, because what you were saying was that you provide for your family, but I'm talking about getting to a place where you know what you're doing, what you're passionate about, what makes you feel good, that makes you feel purpose. If that's what makes you feel purpose, then that's fine. But you have to ask yourself that question. No one else could really answer that for you.
Yeah, I think for me, like Barbara, as you were asking that, I was thinking, maybe you had family that is a farmer. Okay, well, I am a business owner. I'm also a dad. I'm also a amateur podcaster. I'm a husband. I have these networks. I also do jujitsu, right? So I have these areas of my life, and maybe I just kind of compartmentalize these things. But there's certain things that I have some amount of contentment, like look at where I've come from. This is good, but it doesn't mean that I want to ever stop growing. And I think just because I'm still a farmer, it doesn't mean that you're not growing in that and, figuring out, okay, like, oh, I can predict the weather better, or I can, see this pasture with something else in the off season or whatever. Right. So I think that there's still some areas to have a growth mindset, even if on the outside, there's not a lot changing. I mean, Heather and I have been married for forever. I don't want to change my wife, but I do want our relationship to improve. So I have a kind of fixed mindset. She's the one, but hopefully I get better as a husband and our relationship gets better too. So
you're still hoping she's the one, so you don't know?
We were actually having a conversation yesterday. I told her, I'm like, look, if you die or leave me, I'm buying a boat. I'm going to the grocery store, and that's how I'm going to pick up chicks. I'm going to check their basket, and I'm going to be like, oh, it's got some wholesome foods in there, no ring. And I'm just going to be like, hey, I got a boat. If that doesn't work, I'm going to be single for the rest of my life. So
now you also said you were kind of content on certain things, but we all know you are more than content choking people out in your MMA background, because you spent half the weekend showing me your videos of you doing that.
Well, I'm content when I'm, winning, but the reality is most of the time I'm losing. So still have to grow, that's kind of life though, right? I mean, you make some improvements and, but then you're still have a long way to go.
So now going back to your BS book, part of it is including the body. And I believe you talked about getting your body healthy in order to keep your mindset in the right focus, right? Absolutely. Can you tell us a little more about really the importance of the healthiness of your body and how this plays in?
It's a great question.
Well, one of the things I always talk about is mind, body, and soul. They always connect. When you're talking about self-awareness and getting to a place of heightened awareness, or even just being connected spiritually, it's all aligned. And for me, in the book, I was talking a lot about, certain foods you eat and how they make you feel. And sometimes we feel depressed, or sometimes we don't feel energy, and all this can take into play the things that we're putting into our body, and we're not even aware of it, especially like sugar that gives you the high, but then it gives you the low. So just paying attention to the foods that you're putting into your body and the things that you're eating. And I'll get into other things that I talked about in the book, but also paying attention to the noise around you, you know, where I said physically fit, but also mentally fit. So you could say you go to the gym and you work out and you do all these things, but yet mentally you're still not at peace. You know what I mean? And so for me, it's more about aligning all three and figuring out, okay, well, not only just getting fit, but how much sleep are you getting? Are you getting enough rest? You know, when you don't get enough sleep, it impacts how you feel. And so the average person gets what, between maybe 5-6 hours of sleep a day? I don't know, some more, depending on Alton, what time he gets up.
I plead the fifth just because I don't want my boss knowing how late I'm sleeping in, but
yeah, all these factors, they impact how you feel. And for me, I think when I started going through this whole transformation of self-awareness and realizing that, okay, for me to find inner peace is not just about the meditation piece, or it's not just about, you know, getting fit, but it's also about what I'm eating and what I'm putting into my body. So it's all across the board.
Yeah, that's totally. I was just thinking last night we ordered Papa John's pizza. I love pizza. I'm actually trying to like gain weight, so pizza's perfect. But man, if it doesn't knock me out. And so that's like right in what you're saying. I found it, I get in a bad mood when I don't have a lot of energy. Because for me, that's kind of like the state where I'm going to stay is like too much intensity for most people. That's where I like to be. And when I have the pizza, I'm just like, and I don't like it, even though I like the pizza. So I think, man, 100%, if you're not cluing into these things, you know, it's going to affect you. And yeah, so that's good stuff for sure.
Yeah, definitely a big part of it.
So I want to ask, because maybe some people who are listening to this podcast are, you know, they're hungry for learning, and they're, you know, they already have a growth mindset. They're listening to podcasts, they're trying to learn from, you know, hillbillies and smart people and whatever. But maybe someone's not. And so when you say the word like self-awareness, or this heightened sense of self-awareness, I remember, you know, several years ago, that would have just like, okay, whatever, weirdo, this like third eye, I don't know. Can you try to articulate a little bit more about this, you know, consciousness from your perspective to maybe somebody who's, you know, maybe that's a new term, or it kind of just went over their head?
Absolutely. So when I'm talking about self-awareness, it all ties into transformation. And what is transformation? It's getting to a place in your life where you feel good, where you feel aligned with the things that you should be doing, with the decisions that you should be making. You know, transformation can only begin when you let go, like I said, of preconceived notions of what you think happiness means. And letting go of anything could be difficult, whether it's a job, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a business. It doesn't matter what it is, but letting go of anything is hard. And so for transformation, you have to get to that place where you embrace change. You know, if you don't embrace change, you can't go through the process. And so when you're going through transformation, where we're talking about self-awareness, it begins with personal growth and taking action and embracing the process and realizing that, you know what, maybe I don't know everything. Maybe there is something else for me to learn. Maybe I don't know it all. You know, there's a quote that says, when you realize, when you embrace that you don't know it all and you're willing to still learn, that's when you've gotten to that place of, okay, this is where I need to be. And I think for, like we're talking about, and I can use myself as an example, you know, transformation for me began when, you know, like I lost my job, I lost my home, I didn't have money coming in, and I mean, I was at my wit's end of not figuring out like, what the hell am I going to do with my life? And I think that most people get to that place where they want to experience that when everything's not working. Because when things are working the way they've always worked for you, you don't really have any reason to embrace anything else, because the way you've been working, that's how things have been going. And then it's like when something like this happens, like a pandemic, like everybody's on one level. You know, what I say is happening right now is your consciousness level is being tested. It's being shifted to a new level because everybody's on one plane. It doesn't matter how much money you have, doesn't matter what kind of job you have, everybody has to wear masks. You know what I mean? So I think when it gets to that place where you're realizing that, wow, I really don't have all the control that I think that I have, that's when the transformation begins.
So, you know, I'm sure we're going to get into the negative mental mindset here in a little bit, but I'd imagine in doing your job, it's got to be harder for you to work on the mindset of somebody who's really positive, right? Because if they're really positive, odds are their mindset's got to be pretty steady and fixated, right? Or is there still struggles with people that are very positive?
There's still struggles because even with me, even though I'm a life coach, you're not going to be positive 100% of the time. You're going to go through life, you're going to experience things, but it's really about even positive people that are able to get back on track when things are not going the way that they want them to go. And I think that that's when, you know, I deal with that where someone's like, okay, yeah, I have a positive mindset. Yeah, I know I can do this. Yeah, I've done this, I've accomplished this, but yet there's something still missing. So I think, you know, with anybody that can happen too.
So I guess now let's go to the negative mentality. That's probably the cream of the crop for you, right? There's so much to fix, but it's got to be hard for you to get somebody who's negative to actually even call you in the first place, right? So, you know, if somebody's never heard of you, how do you think that they're supposed to be like, oh yeah, I need to change my mindset, let's get into this? Or is it, no, you just have to look and listen to a podcast like this or something?
Well, I operate by the power of intention. That's how I live my life. It's worked for me. It's helped me to be successful. I don't chase anything. I attract things. So for me, it's all about being transparent and sharing with other people where I was in life, how I got out of these situations where you're talking about negative mindset, how I overcame these obstacles, these challenges, these setbacks. I don't have to sell anybody on anything. I really don't sell it. I just tell my story. That's all I do. I tell my story. All of my products are around things that has helped me to become better, that has helped me to win in life. And I think when you're talking about winning in life, people are desperate for that. What does winning mean? Winning doesn't necessarily always mean making more money. Winning can mean finding your purpose. Winning can mean feeling good about your life and where you are. Like, you know, Barb was saying, I'm content about this. I feel good about this. Or just even finding your passion or whatever that is. So that's really where it comes to when you're talking about this whole negative mindset. You know, they say the average person has between 12,000 and 60,000 thoughts a day. And of those, 85% are negative and 95% are repetitive. So if you think about it, we are built almost as habitual human beings to think negative. So when a situation happens, you're prone to think more negative than positive about the situation. So it takes more work to be positive. You know, I work at this every day. I meditate. I say affirmations. I pray. All of these things that keeps me in this vibration as energy. It's an energy vibration of feel good, of the feel good. And everybody wants a piece of that. Everybody's like, what is it? Why are you so happy? Why are you so excited? Why are you so enthusiastic? Well, because I've come to a place of oneness, connecting the dots, my gifts, my talents, my natural abilities, my skills, things I've learned on and jobs. And I've put all these things together to now live a fulfilled and purposeful life. And I think that's what people seek.
Beach Boys, Good Vibrations. That's the song, right?
I'm not even going to try to sing it. So tell us, let's say that you have a friend and that friend you recognize is not living up to their full potential, but they don't see it. Like, I think as any leader should see more potential and help guide people to that. But when we're talking about personal development and growth, and I think that's part of the story, but then trying to help someone live out their passion, to me, is a really tall order. Like, hey, this is your purpose. This is your passion. You know, what might your advice be to, you know, us regular people when we have these friends and we're looking like, I know that they're not that happy, or I really believe that they could be doing more. Maybe it's our kid, maybe it's our friend. What advice would you give for that scenario?
I think when you're talking about saying you have more potential, telling someone else, they have to recognize that, right? So if you say to someone, you know what, I think you should try this, you can't really tell that person. That person has to come to that oneness, to embrace it, to want the change, or to say they have to realize what their gifts are, what their talents are, what their natural abilities. It's not something that somebody else can tell you, you know what, you should try this, because you know what, you're not living up to your full potential. It has to be something that you come across on your own, because until you get to that place where you have that connection of realizing that, wow, like for me to have that aha moment, I didn't know I would be an author. I didn't know I would write books. This wasn't something that I thought about and meditated on. No, it just evolved. It just happened. I had a gift to write, but I didn't know I could write books. So I think that it's really more so telling that person, well, what do you love to do? What gives you, because you know what, your gifts and your talents are always tied to things that are a natural ability, meaning that when you do it, other people look at you and say, you know what, that's so hard for me to do. But for you, you just have a knack for that. That is what they have to laser in, the things that they have the natural ability to do, the gifts that they were born with. And sometimes it's sad, but sometimes we live this life and most people don't even know what their gifts are. You know, they're living life and going on this journey and not even realize that there's things that they have inside them that's been dormant for so many years that they haven't tapped into, which is untapped potential.
So is there ever anyone that you've worked with, or even anyone you could think of, that would not benefit from this kind of mindset life coaching? Is this something that everyone ought to do at some point? Should everybody have a coach like you?
I believe that you should. And I'm not just saying that because I feel I'm a great coach, but I think that we all need people in our lives to hold us accountable. And it doesn't matter how far you are in life. Even I have someone to hold me accountable to things. I think that it doesn't matter how far you go in life. It's always good to have someone to be accountable, to say, yes, you said you were going to do this. That's what helps you to grow and evolve and keep going and keep moving forward. Because sometimes, like you said, we get comfortable. And what happens when you get comfortable? When you get comfortable, it's like, you know, I've done everything I wanted to do. There's nothing else for me to do. You know, it's always more. And I always say, like, I'm always learning. I'm always growing. And like I was saying before, I don't think any one of us knows too much where we can't be exposed to something that somebody else has that has evolved spiritually, which is a higher level of awareness. Like, and I'm talking about some serious stuff here, people, because like when I meditate, I've been meditating for 15 years. And when I first heard about meditation, you know, like everybody else, like, oh yeah, that doesn't really work. I started doing it. At first, it was very challenging because I couldn't get myself to stop thinking about the noise, the outside noise. And so I first started doing it like 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day. Now I can do it for hours. And what happened is when I started to meditate, I started to see the benefits of it in my life. It started to sharpen my clarity, helped me to get focused. It gave me emotional balance. It gave me more creativity, ingenuity. It gave me so much strength and increased my productivity. And so I said, wow, this is what meditation really does. And it really took me to a higher place of awareness where I can meditate and I feel the palms of my hand. Don't get spooked, people, but I feel the palms of my hand getting really warm, and I could feel that energy. I feel it through my whole being, through my whole body. And so that's what I'm talking about, where it's like when you are open to learning new things and open to change and embrace it, that's when it will come. It will not come before you're ready to receive it.
So what did you meditate? Oh, sorry.
Sorry. Have any of y'all actually meditated?
Yes, but I have a feeling different than what she's describing.
Yeah, I mean, will say that I've experimented with it, but nothing
Back
serious. Yeah.
I guess I'm
Just
wondering,
one time someone offered it to me and I obliged. But yeah, definitely, nothing. I've wanted to embrace more of that. And I will say in the times that I have, experimented, it's certainly been beneficial to me. Not, I don't think to the magnitude, Georgia, that you're speaking of, but also it's like, just playing amateur games, right? So I understand that for sure.
I'm probably mildly lost in the terminology, so that will tell you where I am on the spiritual self-awareness scale. But all I keep thinking is, okay, so you started out meditating and it was hard. What are you meditating on? Like, what are you thinking about?
That's the thing. I'm not thinking about anything. I'm allowing my mind to flow freely. And I think that initially when you start meditating, it's like, what is the right way? What is the wrong way? Is there a way? It's really about silencing your mind, which is the toughest thing to do, right? Because we talked about the thoughts and how many thoughts we have a day. And so if your mind is inundated, think about it, your phone, this, that, the television, the news, people, you're so distracted all the time by so many different things. And the hardest thing to do is to get to that place of stillness. And so initially, it's really just about, I say that in the beginning, if start with an aid, right? So what are some things that you can use to relax you while you're meditating? It can be music, it could be soundscapes, it could be jazz, it could be classical. You could use music initially, whatever gets you into a relaxed state, because it's really about feeling relaxed and breathing. That's what the meditation is. It's about your breathing, because when you breathe a certain way, it relaxes your body. And getting to that place where you can be relaxed. And so you might need to use an aid or something to kind of get you, maybe you can hear like a waterfall or whatever it is that can get you in a peaceful state. So I would say, recommend people do things like that initially before they get to the place where they could actually meditate in silence. Because if you're thinking about, well, what should I be thinking about? You shouldn't be thinking. You just let your mind wander. You just let go, right? That's the hardest thing in life, right? To let go, because we're always taught to be in control. So when it's time to let go, we don't know how, right?
Well, so meditation, I don't see how that could ever work for me. So I'm ADHD, so I've tried it in the past, and it's like all I can sit there. What?
This is a fixed mindset. I have ADHD, so go
I
ahead.
need drugs to calm me down. No, but seriously, I mean, if I try to sit there and meditate, I'm sitting there thinking, do you think unicorns were on Noah's Ark, or did they really exist? I just go way off into nowhere, and it's like, I just don't see how I can keep from being distracted in my own mind with trying to do meditation.
I mean, that's the point though, right? Like, that's the challenge.
That's the challenge.
What if that is your true self though? What if your true highest self is like unicorns? That's what I'm wondering. Like, how do you, like we're talking, it feels like a lot of intangible terms here. Like we're talking about higher awareness and self-awareness. But what if John's most aware self really does involve unicorns and Noah's Ark?
Well, if that's
No offense, John. It was a compliment.
What I'm talking about, and like you were saying, it feels like it's not tangible. What's tangible is the feeling, which is something you can't touch. It's a feeling. It's a feeling. It's a feeling of peace. It's a feeling of joy. It's a feeling of happiness. It's a feeling of excitement. It's a feeling of just knowing that everything that you're doing is for a reason. Like everything in your life is moving at the time it's supposed to. It's really about, think about it like this: living in the present, not worrying about your past or fretting about your future. It's living in the right now, in the present, in the moment. And for a lot of people, it's hard to get to that place to just live in the present.
Yeah, I think just offer some thoughts on that. Like, I think in some ways, and I could be way out of bounds here, guys, but I'll just say it anyway. Like for me, I notice the things that I love the most require my full attention. Okay. So, being in bed and with my wife pretty much requires my full attention. I'm there. I'm not anywhere else. I'm not thinking about tomorrow. I'm here. Motorcycle racing. You're not thinking about, what's on the calendar. You are there in the moment. Jiu-jitsu. Look, if you're thinking about what happened yesterday, you're getting strangled unconscious. And so I think that meditation can bring that in. But Georgia, I wanted to ask you if you're familiar with Wim Hof and his breathing techniques.
No.
Okay. So John, next time you come over, and if you're listening, y'all
don't drag me into this. This is between you and her.
Nope, you're closer. She's all the way in Winchester, New York. And my Rover's old. I don't know if it's going to make it all the way there. But
I'm almost positive it's Westchester. I think Winchesters are what you guys shoot in Texas, and Westchester
tomato.
Barb's having her own conversation over there. We're laughing about what you're saying, and she's
Winchester.
laughing about other stuff.
Okay, Wim Hof. All right, he's. I'm not even going to try to describe it. It's WIM space HOF. He's a guy, and he has kind of taught these breathing techniques. I would not call it meditation per se, from what I feel like is meditation, but it's these deep breathing techniques that you're doing where you're very much in the present, and it he explains the science behind how you kind of hyperoxygenate, and it changes your body's pH. So most of us are running around super acidic, and as you're taking these deep breaths, you're getting all this oxygen in, and it's kind of changing the balance, the state of your body, which therefore changes your mindset. And it's when I've done it, and I've done this a lot, super euphoric. I mean, I feel so good. I feel so at peace. I'm just like, giggly unicorns over here. And so I would say, I got to recommend everyone try that. And that to me is a good introduction to being in that moment with thinking about your breath and your body. And he has really good step-by-step techniques that when I did it the first time, and this is his little method. I've never done this. I'm just doing these breathing exercises. And then at the end, and he's like, okay, now you just don't breathe. You don't hold your breath. You just stop breathing. And I just was there in that moment for, I think, almost 3 minutes, not breathing, just there. So it sounds crazy. You're sitting there going like, Alton, you're nuts. I know I'm nuts, but it's a real thing.
No, the thing I'm wondering this whole time, is this for everyday life instances, or was this a birthing class that you were in and that's what you're bringing up?
I have been to some birthing classes and some real births. That's scary stuff, man. Don't bring that up. Gonna take me back.
Goodness.
I'm going to have to meditate after this.
Those classes made me want to ask if I could get out of the whole birthing thing by now. I'm 8 months pregnant. Can we stop? That would be anyway.
So have we derailed this completely yet? I'm glad that we talked about the meditating though. And I'm glad that you brought that up because, you know, on the show, I like exposing people to some things that maybe they're not so familiar. And that's certainly, you know, me raising my hand, because I think if you do have the growth mindset, well, you have to be exposed to some new ideas and concepts and experts that are actually doing it and reaping the benefits of it.
Mhm.
Do you think meditation can take place while doing fishing or something?
Or podcasting. That's
No, you
something we
definitely can't do it here, especially with two people that beat you up all the time. But
I
so
think Georgia seems very nice. I don't know what you're talking about.
no, Georgia's nice. But no, so can you meditate while doing something like fishing?
Well, no, because your mind is not in one. I mean, if you're fishing, how are you going to be focused on meditating? It's you're already thinking about catching a fish. So your mind is already somewhere else.
It's a hard struggle for me because I know how crazy the ADHD kicks in and you literally cannot. It's just like if you were to take a test, right?
What relaxes you? Let's start with that.
Well, we can't talk about that on this show, but
It's not legal in Texas.
I have to go to Oregon for that. Yeah, Alton, what makes you comfortable? What calms you down?
So like, well, about this though, I recently got this new alarm clock. All right. You know, cat's out of the bag. I can't get out of bed in the morning. But with this alarm clock, it has a sound like white noise generator. And it doesn't matter what has happened. Even if my body is wrecked, my brain's usually running. And I mean, they say that, right, about high IQ people, they just have trouble going to sleep. Anyway, so we got this alarm clock that has this white noise sound generator, and I love it. It's just like I turn on the ocean with a little bit of rain and a little bit of wind, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Out. And I think that's it's like this little bit of distraction that, I don't know, it's like a minor distraction distracts me from, you know, my calendar and whatever. So that's something that I think would be advantageous for everyone who's trying to get some sleep.
So, Georgia, we're running out of time, but I think I want to give you a scenario. Can I give you a scenario and you tell us how you handle it?
Sure.
Okay. So you spoke at Time Warner Cable, so let's use them for an example. There's someone there that's doing outbound calling or inbound, whatever, sales. And they're struggling to hit their quotas. How would you do this if someone like that came to you and said, man, I'm stressed out. I don't know what to do. Am I in the wrong field? Am I doing the wrong thing? Where do you start? How does it go? What can someone expect?
Well, first I would ask them, what is it that's making them feel stressed out about what they're doing? Where is that feeling and emotion coming from? What is it exactly? What part of that is making them feel that way? And how to focus on feeling more positive about whatever it is that they're doing so that they can change their attitude, so that they can change their conversation, so they won't feel like that struggle of whatever it is they're trying to do. So I would definitely figure out what is it that was making them feel that way, and then figuring out how we can reverse those feelings.
So in a lot of sales, most of the time you have the issue of when you don't hit a quota, you lose your job. So that's, you know, and I speak from the mindset of even like the HR side. Mm-hmm. How do you motivate someone who's
someone that got into sales, right? They got into sales because why? They thought they were good at it initially, or they felt that they could do a good job, or
either make a lot or maybe they're good at it. I don't know. Alton seems to think he's good at selling, but
Well,
because I
looking
look
at
like
that,
an actor.
So look at it like this. Think about it like this. So if you're in a job, right, and you feel that you're not doing well in that job, or you feel that you don't feel good about what you're doing, maybe you shouldn't be doing that job. Maybe you should be doing something else.
Yeah, I think that sometimes also, and this may not be your scenario, but like I used to do the high-tech engineering stuff, and I was actually really good at it. I mean, in the college, I had whatever highest honors and really good accolades, but like it just wasn't there for my soul. So I was good at it. It paid the bills, but like it was killing me. And so I did some personal development work, probably like listening to Tony Robbins or something, who knows. And he's like, all right, you need to go find 5 of your friends and ask them what it is that you do better than everybody else. And that's going to help clue you into your gifts. Right. So I sent out this weird, creepy email to people. And I'm like, so guys, tell me, what do you think I do best? And what am I like crappy at? And I think, Georgia, you mentioned it earlier. That made me think about this story. Sometimes we don't even know. And I think I've shared this story on the podcast, but turns out like I don't meet a stranger. Like I just talk to anybody. I don't care. Like I like you already. Let's hug. And everybody's like, man, that's weird. And so I think that when somebody's in that spot, I always think that that's a good place to start, is like, go figure out what your actual gift is and not what someone told you it was or what you needed it to be to pay the bills. And that might help.
Absolutely.
So do you have anything else you want to add to it, Barb or Alton, before we jump in?
No, I'm ready.
Awesome. Okay. So guys, let's do the deciding factor.
Now it's time for our deciding factor.
All right, Georgia. Let me start with, I think we kind of screwed up with the title. And I only say that from the stance of everything virtually starts with a mindset. I mean, you have to have the willingness or wantingness to try fishing for the first time. Unless someone randomly says, you're coming with me, then there's no mindset. You're just drug along, especially if they put a taser up against you. But mindset is really the beginning to virtually everything. So, I mean, absolutely, it's got to be the biggest barrier for people to get over. But let me add this. In order to get past that barrier or do what you need to be doing, I really think you need help from somebody. So is the mindset the biggest barrier, or is it needing the help from someone like you that's really what's necessary? Because if Alton were to come up to me and be like, John, you suck at podcasting, you need to stop. There's no mindset involved. It's just like a screeching halt. Oh my goodness. Either I need a better voice or a better face or something. I don't know. So
yes,
I want to say
yes. Mindset is absolutely the biggest barrier between you and what you want out of life. You know, there's a famous quote by Henry Ford, and it says, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. Okay, so it's important for people to understand that they are responsible for both their suffering and their happiness. And so whatever you're planting into your mind, whether it's something positive or negative, you are a reflection of what you're thinking about. And that's what creates the action. So one of the things that I share with, like you said, what's that deciding factor? I would say for me, and what's helped me in life, is to create a mission statement for your life. What is a mission statement? Most people think mission statements are for companies, for organizations, for non-for-profits. They're like, what are you talking about, Georgia? Why do I need a mission statement for my life? Well, a mission statement for your life helps you to get focused on whatever it is that you want to create. And so my mission statement that drives me every day, I'll give you an example. It's, I, Georgia Woodbine, am here to empower, inspire, and motivate 1 million plus people to transform their mindset to change their lives. So what does that mean? This mission statement guides my life. Everything that I'm a part of, everything that I participate in, it is aligned. So I am not wasting times on things that don't align with my greater mission for my life. And sometimes in life, people will pull you in different directions. And sometimes you don't even realize it, that you're doing something and you don't even know why you're doing it. And so that deciding factor could be to create a mission statement for your life, to give you focus.
Wow. I love that.
What you got, Barbara? Option C, here we come.
Yes, I'm afraid my option C is going to come out muddled, which is going to bother me.
Yes.
Muddle it up. Come on.
Okay.
You haven't heard me yet.
Okay, you can make it messier. I don't buy in that this is a good thing. I think that mindset matters. I think that it can have an impact on how you respond to things, but I think it's a pretty dangerous mindset in and of itself to give your own feelings that much control over you, that much credit. Spent a lot of time talking about self-awareness, but I don't think at the end of my life, that's what I want out of my life. I think that I look at previous generations and it seems like, the scientists track that are, economically, financially, we are better off than ever before, but our happiness isn't. We are, they score this stuff, which is hilarious to me. I don't know how you score happiness, but they do. It's interesting to me that here we are in a time in history where I think there's tremendous emphasis on growth, personal development, mindset. And we seem to do less with our lives. We seem to have less attention paid to, am I serving another person? We seem to have a weaker value on duty or responsibility, like that maybe it's not all about me. Maybe my life has to be more than all about me. So I'm going to say no. I don't think that mindset is the biggest barrier.
Well, when you say you think your life should be more about other people and not you, is that what you're trying to say?
No, I'm saying that I think that for the goal of my life to be that I have reached my passion, that I am personally thriving, is too small a goal.
So what is your passion?
I have several, but if I'm gonna, in a nutshell, I want a life where I can glorify God and enjoy Him forever. So for me, what does that look like? It does look like paying attention to things like how I react to situations. But I think that I watch my feelings go all over the place. There are days, and this is going to sound shallow, I'm really sorry about that. There are days that I might not feel like getting out of bed and feeding my family yet again, but my feelings can't have, do I feel particularly passionate about making toast today? Maybe not, but I do think that I am raising, that the work I do in the home, it's shaping the hearts and minds of humanity. So I can find that to be a worthwhile goal, and I can give up what feels personally passionate to me for the sake of somebody else.
So real quick, Alton, before you go, focus versus mindset, is that maybe what we're referring to maybe?
Well, that's what I'm listening to Barb, and I'm listening to what she's saying, and I'm really trying to get like where she was going with it. But I
told you it'd be muddled. I'm sorry about that.
So let me I want to respond to what you said, Barbara, and then I'll kind of give my deciding factor. There may be some semantics there, and I love that you brought that up, Barbara. I think that, in my opinion, I also agree that the highest version of ourselves has to include service to others. I think that my opinion is that God gave us the gifts.
Absolutely.
It's good for us to recognize those.
Mm-hmm.
Why did he give us these gifts? Is it just for Alton to, be strong like Schwarzenegger, or is it for Alton to carry a heavy load, right? For other people, because maybe they didn't get that gift of strength. So I think some of this may be the perspective, in that I want to be able to help a lot of people. Therefore, I have to be, if I want to carry a lot, I have to get stronger. That's just the reality. And so if we say, I want to be like Schwarzenegger so that everybody looks at me and values Alton, or if I just want to bulk up so that I can, carry that heavy load for others when they need it, it's the same muscles, but it's, again, our attitude about that and why we're doing that. And I think that, most people that listen know that I have religious backgrounds. I believe in God, and I'm not, I don't mind talking about it.
Absolutely.
And that's, if we look at Jesus, look at all that he gave up to serve,
Mm-hmm.
but then he was perfect. So he had the best mindset. He didn't have to do all of this growth work. But if we look at somebody like Paul, the apostle, or Saul, I guess, we had to kind of tweak his mindset a little bit and his attitudes or education. Anyway,
well, can I share something really quickly? I want to, and especially for Barb, because I'm a Christian. I believe in God. And my whole life is around the gifts that God has given me to help other people. And I remember I was going through a rough time in my life, and I remember I had this dream, and in the dream, I'm sitting and I'm looking outside, and it's really dark and it's really gloomy and it's raining. At this time in my life, that's when I was going through the loss of my job and my finances and everything. And I kept praying to God, and I'm in the bathroom with my head on the toilet seat. And I'm saying, God, please show me, why am I going through this? What is it that I should be doing with my life? And I remember a few days when I was saying that, that's when I had this vision, this dream. And as I'm looking outside in the dream, I see like a mountaintop going up into the sky. And then all of a sudden it stops raining and it gets really sunny outside. And then I see a form figure sitting on top of this mountain. And then I see a hand, and it releases something to me. It was a letter, and it looked like loose leaf paper, like about 5 by 7. And I had this letter in my hand. And in this room, this dark room, I'm sitting alone, and it says, do not fret nor worry. Everything that you're going through is a test to make you stronger. And I remember that's the first time in my life I ever had a dream where I got the message in the dream, or that I even remembered a dream. So like Alton was saying, a lot of things that when I talk about mission statement and purpose and all these things, all of these things are tied to spirituality. When you think about people that have gifts, like people, entertainers, people that have a gift where they make you feel something, it doesn't come from them. It comes from a higher source. It comes from something deeper. So that's why when you have this thing, this connection, people feel that emotion because it's bigger than you. It's a spiritual thing. And so that's why I agree with what Alton was saying. Like, we have these gifts, we have these things, and it is mainly about serving and helping others and teaching others, and not holding on to those things and hoarding those things. Say, wow, I'm at a better place of self-awareness. So I have all these gifts and I could write books and I could do this. But how do we take these things that we have learned that has helped us deal with these obstacles, these challenges, these setbacks, to help other people overcome those things?
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And just like to finish up, I guess my thought on the mindset, I can speak that me changing my mindset and my attitude has completely changed my life. And I believe that most people around me have probably benefited from that growth. And I would just say that I think that I can raise my hand and say that I settled. I tricked myself into saying, like, this is it. I remember dreaming about being a pilot. And then, you know, I got a little older, and then I was like, oh, you have to be really smart to be a pilot. Oh, you have to be tall to be a pilot. Oh, you have to, you know, like all these requirements. And I'm like, I'm just a hillbilly, you know, I can't do this and that and whatever, right? Made up all these excuses. And then when I got flown off of that mountain in the helicopter, I was like, I got to be a helicopter pilot. And now I'm like, that's the new goal. I'm like, you know what? Can't stop me now. So anyway, I think that we build these barriers and we don't even know that they're there. And then we just settle like that's the world. And something that keeps us from trying to face that, to challenge that, is our resistance to pain. And that's a big thing that I think jiu-jitsu has helped me with, is just like embracing that suffering. You know, it's like forcing me to do it, and therefore become a better version of Alton. You know, I'm a little more patient, a little more fit, a little less likely to strangle somebody in the grocery store. So about mindset, I think we have to have a positive mindset if we want to have a positive impact on the world. And if we do that on the flip side, and you look at people who don't have their stuff together, right? Like, let's just run all the way down the other end of the spectrum. It's a very self-centered and like instant gratification type of thing. Then they're not living a good life, and neither is anyone around them.
Well, Georgia, thanks for coming on the show. Now, we did tell the listeners you had something special.
Yes, so I do have a free gift for your audience. It's the 5 secrets to turn your passion into profits. And it's a free guide, and they can go to my website, www.georgiawoodbine.com.
Gotcha. We will put that in the description. So if you're not driving, you can click on that link. We'll also give them all your social media handles that you gave us. That way they can harass you about the show and make sure to ask you more questions, or maybe do business with you. That'll be good. But if you were paying attention, I think Alton's secret word of the day was Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Schwarzenegger.
Oh man, no, it was fun. It was definitely a good topic to have. I think mindset can be really, really tricky to get through. I think I would like our listeners, if you heard this, there's probably someone out there that you're talking to, that you're around constantly, who could possibly use a mindset adjustment. And maybe you are that person that needs to guide them to talk to somebody that can help them get better.
Yeah. Share this with them. Say, hey, you need an attitude adjustment, buddy.
I mean, Alton does it to me all the time. So it's okay to do it to them, Mm-hmm. And if they don't listen, choke them out. And
thank you so much, Georgia.
Thank you guys for having me. It was such a pleasure. I love talking to you guys. Thank you so much.
You're awesome.
Absolutely. All right, guys, don't forget, we have the Deciding Factor extra show. But as for now, this was the Deciding Factor. Everyone, say bye.
Bye.
Later.
This has been another episode of the Deciding Factor, giving you food for thought on real life issues. Be sure to click, like, and subscribe to this podcast, as well as all your big social media outlets, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Don't forget to check out our website at thedecidingfactorpodcast.com and give us comments and feedback. Until next time, stay safe and remember to keep an open mind.